Oh, it's so wonderful to see you again. Come in and unwind. Welcome back to the Celestial Café, a podcast for the magical mind.
So come, take a seat. Would you like something sweet? A star drop potion for the soul? Maybe an enchanted eclair as a treat?
I just baked a batch of warm cookies with a dash of moonlight. I wonder what will happen if you take a little bite.
Here is your bewitching beverage. Let each sip melt your worries away. It's time to open your mind. I wonder what magic awaits us today.
Okay, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Celestial Café podcast. Today is a mini episode, so it's just me, HeyShadyLady, and the wonderful, lovely Panthera the Feralwood Witch. Hi, Panthera.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm excited for this episode. It's going to be a little different.
Yeah, it is. It is. This is not like any episode we've done, really, I don't think, because I think with stuff like fae and unicorns, they very neatly
tie in a little less messily
with witchy magical stuff. So y'all are definitely going to have to let us know how you feel about this episode. Me and Panthera were just chatting before we started recording that we're not sure that there's really going to be interest in this, but I hope there is. Yep. This is one of my favorite subjects, and I'm going to edit this right here to the start of the episode and say that all of this episode is not us having done research, but just rambling off the top of our heads. So fact check everything we're saying.
Take it with a big old grain of salt. It's a fun episode.
We're having fun.
Yeah.
This is just for entertainment. None of this stuff is. We're just bantering. So don't take it too seriously. It's a great time. So buckle up. Okay.
We needed a disclaimer.
Yeah, we needed a disclaimer for this one. The suspense is probably killing you. We're going to be talking about cryptids today.
Yes.
So cryptozoology.
Modern monsters.
Yeah, all the little creatures hidden in the corners, which I don't know. Like, I guess like, I don't know. I don't even know where to start with this subject, and I don't know exactly what we're going to cover. So definitely let us know if there's any specific spots you'd like to see us take this conversation. But we're definitely in improv mode today and just kind of seeing where this goes. But before we get too deep into that, this is the Celestial Café podcast, and we're a podcast for magical minds. And we chat about full moons, astrology, witchy magical goodness. And that's our main stuff is usually the full moons each month in astrology, but we're kind of dabbling in variety episodes with 2 of our episodes per month. So we're
some new and exciting topics, which has been really fun to kind of delve into these more niche subjects.
Yeah, they've been a lot of fun to listen to when I'm editing too. They're just, it's cool to hear us like kind of dig into, you know, like stuff like the Fae episode and the unicorn episodes, for example, and like the cats and their tie-in with magic. It's cool for me to be able to learn stuff as I'm editing too. You know, it's just been like a nice little addition. So if y'all are listening on podcasting platforms, hello. We also post on YouTube, and we live stream at twitch.tv/HeyShadyLady twice a month. You can find all of our links at celestialcafe.org. Big thank you to our new patrons. We're so excited. Thank you everyone so much for the support and for joining the Discord. Hello. It's been awesome to meet all of you new wonderful friends. So without further ado, let's get into it, Panthera. Where do we even start?
So I kind of, maybe we should talk about like when we decided to talk about this topic. So we do like a once a month meetup with all the co-hosts together, and we kind of like look at everybody's schedule and see like, because the mini episodes are only 2 hosts, and we have like topic ideas for each of those, and it's usually like things that we have in common with one of the other hosts, or like you know, like Shady and Dukesley are really into astrology, whereas me and Fuchsia are a little more into like the crafty side of witchcraft. So it's really fun to like get to dive deep into a little niche topic. So, and one of the things that me and Shady really have in common is that we really like cryptids. We like really monsters, myths and legends. Oh, but you still need to post that stream on your YouTube channel one day.
Yeah,
but
we have
done a tier list stream.
Yeah, we previously did a live stream where we were doing
it was a charity reward.
It was a charity reward
for a charity stream you had.
Was it Smash or Pass? Or was it? No, we
No, it
were
was
ranking them in like
yes.
in Smash or Pass in tier levels.
It was like S plus was like, take me out on a date.
And then someone were like, this is
And
my
it was, like, best friend.
Yeah.
Would hang out with and like, don't touch me
Yeah,
and
get
get the fuck away. Yeah. It was a very fun time.
It was very silly. So we're not going to be diving into that this time, although there may be hints of it around the corners. But I guess we're just going to be talking about them in general. I don't know. How long have you been into cryptids and cryptozoology and stuff like that?
I have been into cryptids for a very, very long time. So growing up as a kid, I was not like a Disney Channel or a Nickelodeon kid. I was an Animal Planet Discovery Channel kid.
I was both.
And
but
yes. So I would watch like the Corwin Experience and Crocodile Hunter.
Do you remember this guy called John Acorn the Nature Nut? No,
I don't think so, but I think we've talked about this before, and I think you showed. He's the bug guy, right?
Yeah, he had this song about ladybugs. It's like ladybug, ladybug, munching on a
See,
fizz.
I'm not a bug person. I was like Steve Irwin was like my hero. Like I sobbed when he passed away.
I like
Rest
to get
in
home
peace.
from school and watch Yu-Gi-Oh, but I also like to get home from school and watch John Acorn the Nature Nut.
Yeah, so I would watch documentaries and everything. I loved animals, and I would fall asleep every night to, once I got TV in my room, I would fall asleep to Animal Planet or Discovery Channel. And late at night, it would be like 2 a.m., Animal Planet. So I have this thing too where I dream about like what's playing in the room, but I wake up with these nightmares, these like monster nightmares, and it would be like this monster show that would play at like 2 or 3 a.m. on Animal Planet, and it would like affect my dreams. So, and then I'd wake up and then I'd like be watching this show about like this episode's about like the Mongolian death worm or like all this shit, and it was so good. But and then I also remember reading a book when I was younger too called Cryptid Hunters, which I guess I'll link it. It's like a young adult book, but it was pretty good. And it's about the, I'm probably going to mispronounce this, but the Mokalemembe in the Congo. It's like the dinosaur cryptid. So it's about like two kids who like go meet up with somebody and they're like investigating that cryptid. But so those things kind of like spawned my interests. But I went to school for animal biology, so just like animal sciences has always been very fascinating to me. And I definitely think that there's possibilities of, you know, creatures that we don't have the technology to necessarily like detect or find. Like we only very recently got proof of giant squids, and now you can go see one in the Smithsonian Natural History Museum, which is incredible. But that used to be a cryptid. Like we didn't know that they existed. So I think there's definite possibilities.
I was looking at the Wikipedia list of cryptids earlier as my last minute preparation for this episode. And I came across one on the list that is called the thylacine. I think I'm pronouncing that right.
Thylacines. Mm-hmm. They're now endangered, or they're extinct now.
Yes.
But the Tasmanian tiger is also, I believe, another name for
tiger,
them.
aka Tasmanian wolf. It's a marsupial. It's very interesting looking. And it's only recently, like there's video that exists of this creature.
Yes, it's a very recently extinct animal. You can also see that at the Smithsonian Natural History Museum, not sponsored.
So I was looking at this list with Dukesley, and Dukesley's like, why is this guy here? It's literally real. And so I started like digging into it. And the reason that the thylacine is on the list of cryptids is because there's speculation that it's not fully extinct, and there are some that still exist. And so in the land of cryptid hunting, there is a like subsection of that like subculture
trying to find,
that is interested and will hunt the thylacine in the same way that people hunt Bigfoot.
Interesting.
Now. So it's kind of become a cryptid through its extinction, which is interesting to think about.
Yeah. That's fascinating to me. I think that's so cool because, like, I think of like other animals that we thought were extinct and weren't. Like the I'm probably gonna mispronounce this again, but the coelacanth. It's like the fish from the dinosaur age.
Oh yeah,
these like ancient fishes. And those we have now found. They just like swim extremely deep, and they live so long. They're ancient. Like even like the ones that exist are like old fish. But it's crazy, like what we don't know. And when we think about like the ocean and like the possibilities of like what could be there that we've explored, or we know less about our own oceans than we know about like space, which is insane to me.
I don't know. And then this is a whole other episode I could get into, but space is the ocean and ocean is space. And there's like a portal that's a whole, but they're just as expansive and they're just as mysterious and they're just as dangerous is what it feels like. They both feel like different like I don't want to say universes because space is not another universe, but like whole other realms, whole other worlds with completely different laws of physics and like all of this kind of stuff. I know the ocean still abides by our laws of physics, but it doesn't feel like it because we move slower,
because of the maximum pressure, the pressure and everything. It's very different. Yeah. It's interesting.
So another animal on like the cryptid list that I'm thinking of in relation to what we're kind of talking about right now is the chupacabra. Which is the goat sucker. And this is a legendary creature where people think it's a vampire thing that attacks the livestock and drinks the blood of the livestock. So I believe that they captured or something a chupacabra. I saw something on this one time and I couldn't tell you where it was, but Google is a magical creature if you really want to dig into this yourself. But it was either captured or they had like a dead body of one and someone brought it in and they were like, I've got the chupacabra. I caught a chupacabra. And they did like a DNA thing on it, DNA test. And it turned out to be like a coyote crossbred with a dog of some kind. And on top of that, it was infested or infected with mange. So this was something that people look on and it looks like it's a weird canine creature because it's a mixture of two different species that you may not have seen before. And it's hairless and bulbous and weird because if you've ever seen
is very graphic in how it affects the body.
Distorts like and makes the creature bulbous and strange and bumpy and weird and kind of
it's basically like
looking.
A type of skin infection that affects mostly canines.
They lose their hair. So they become like kind of bald looking. So the creature that was brought in ends up being this cross of a coyote and some other kind of dog. Or canine creature and infected with mange. So this was something that was believed to be an unknown cryptid that is just a weird looking creature that's not weird. And honestly, I feel like this is what's going to happen with everything on the cryptid list. Like, I feel like stuff like Mothman, this is where my skepticism comes in. Sorry to all the believers. But I don't know about Bigfoot and stuff like that. But like part of me kind of thinks Bigfoot is, I don't know. Part of me doesn't believe in Bigfoot
There's
at all.
ones that I potentially believe in more than others, for sure. And I would say Bigfoot's pretty low on my list of what I think is possible.
I think Bigfoot is totally possible.
Yeah.
I can't say that I believe that Bigfoot is real, but Bigfoot is higher on my list of possibilities than something like the Loveland frog, for example. The frog
the frog I'm kind of like...
So the Loveland frog is a legendary humanoid frog that is supposed to be about 4 foot tall and it walks on its hind legs. And just what I think like 90% of cryptids are just people traveling at nighttime and they catch half a glimpse of something and their mind plays tricks on them, or like you see a weird deer poke its head out of, like it is a deer that's poked its head out, but all you see are its eyes reflecting off the lights. You see these big weird horns growing off of it. There's a tree behind it that makes it looks like it have human arms, and then all of a sudden you've got this whole story, and then mass hysteria takes over because you go home and tell someone about it and then they're like, oh, I saw that too, and it just starts to like, and I kind of think
when we think about it, the world did used to be a much scarier place, right? When we didn't know as much before we had electricity, there were things that could get you much more easily than they can now. And there are still places where it is very dangerous to go outside your house at night, right? I think of like cougars, or like Alaska has like polar bears that will sit behind your door frame and wait for you to open and close your door and leave your house.
Ew, freaks.
It's actually horrifying.
I'm getting a stalker. I'm going to file stalker charges.
So like when you think about like something standing beside your door outside the house, and you might not necessarily know it's a bear at that time, right? But you hear something large shuffling out there.
Is I think that cryptids are born of ignorance, generally speaking, because we have some strange ones on the list, like the thylacine and the chupacabra, that are revealed. Like, that's the thing, is upon further investigation, we are able to identify them as something that's not, super like beyond belief. And I believe
do you think that they necessarily have to be beyond belief to be a cryptid? I guess that would, because like, I think they're mostly just like probably animals that we might not fully know yet.
It's zoology, cryptozoology.
Yes, for sure.
So it's the study. But this is the thing, is when I was talking with a couple of friends earlier about like what cryptids should I cover, they were throwing out ones that were like Black Annis, also known as Black Agnes, which is a bogeyman figure in English folklore. And she's like a weird, like warty, long-nosed blue hag kind of. Yeah. So like a ghost witch, like a siren, sirens and things like this. So these get more like mythological creatures.
Yeah. So I feel like cryptids and like legends, folklore, myths, monsters, like it's so hard to like classify any of these things
would
because
go in this category, right? A mermaid or
is that more human? I guess a Bigfoot would be considered a cryptid, and that's mostly humanoid. But I guess it kind of depends. Yeah, like I don't know, like where, like with the intelligence level might come into question. Do they communicate? Do they? I don't know. Like, are they necessarily considered? Like,
that's a whole other thing, because like when we think about something like Mothman is this weird, enigmatic. Like, you only see these like giant I don't think it looks like moth wings at all. I think they look like weird, like angel or like giant bird wings.
Yeah.
But, with glowing red eyes. And people were saying they saw Mothman. Where was this? Point Pleasant.
Yeah.
And they saw him before a major tragedy struck. So he was kind of like an omen, or was he there to protect people, or was he there because he knew tragedy was going to strike? Like that was kind of the thing circling around Mothman. And so Mothman would be an entity of great intelligence at this point. And I also would say along these lines that the Bigfoot subset, Yeti, Yowie, all of them are highly intelligent creatures as well, because they have avoided or evaded. That's the word I'm looking for. They've evaded human capture this entire time.
So I don't know if evasion necessarily coincides, because I think of like the coelacanth fish. Again, I don't know if I'm saying that right. It might be
so that was just kind of dumb luck.
Yeah, like we thought it was extinct, and then we found one, and we had no clue that they were still alive.
If you get deep into the Bigfoot hunting culture, Bigfoot are intentionally hiding from us. And also,
okay, I will say I'm not like super in my Bigfoot rabbit hole.
I love watching like hunting Bigfoot documentaries and all of this kind of. I've watched some crazy stuff. Some people have like truly lost their lives to it.
Wow, that's crazy.
I'll have to.
This is a little off topic. But when I was going to college for my animal biology, we were in a ecology course where we would have trail cameras. We went out to this person's like land that they let us have for research purposes. And we would set up these trail cameras all through, and we would log all the different animals that we saw, and we had to like guess the deer population for the animals for this like region based off of the photos and things like that. Well, one of my friends, he got a gorilla suit and went in front of the trail cameras. And
oh my God,
our professor was like obsessed. He like got all the pictures and he sent them off to like a fur specialist.
No!
Like he thought that we had like
that's so
discovered.
That's so embarrassing.
The first specialist was like, "This is synthetic." I'm sorry. But it was really fun. It was a fun like 3 weeks in our class when my teacher thought we had caught Bigfoot.
That's silly. Yeah, there was a documentary I was watching. I'm going to describe it to y'all because there are so many Bigfoot documentaries. I know I watched it on Amazon Prime, and it was about a man, and it was like a cameraman was following this one guy around who was essentially homeless, by choice. He had adult grown children who were like sad that their dad had dedicated his life to Bigfoot, and he just would like literally go camp in the woods and just like nomadically travel around. And he had like a girlfriend, air quotes, that he would stop by and like do his laundry and stay with her, but there wasn't really a relation. It's this whole like little drama going on. So you like get wrapped up in this individual man's life, but you also realize that he's willingly chosen to live in the wild hunting Bigfoot, and he is 1,000% sure that Bigfoot's real because he saw him at some point and he knows what he saw, kind of thing, and now it's taken over his life and he's on a mission to prove that it's real. But there was something in that documentary where he sent a sample away that he had found to some kind of scientist guy, and the scientist guy was like, this is actually like pretty compelling. I can't identify this, but it's definitely organic and it's definitely this, that, and the other. So this is, and that was the guy's like, this is, you know, but it was not quite this is it, but it's like, I told you I'm on the right track, just let me do what I'm doing. And so really interesting, and less so like a study of Bigfoot and more so a study of maybe kind of like Moby Dick obsession, you know what I mean? But
I could see that.
I don't know, I find Bigfoot very interesting, and the Bigfoot rabbit hole goes so deep though, because there's like a subsection of Bigfoot where it's like they're intentionally like there's another thing called missing 411. Have you ever heard of this?
No, I haven't.
So this is people that go missing in, I think 411 is the number you call when someone is missing or something like that, which is why it's called that. But this is a guy who is specifically studying people who go missing in national parks.
I have heard. Okay. The people missing in the national parks.
And it's
a little bit creepy.
Yes. It's
as somebody who goes to national parks.
A very specific subset of like, it has to be within water. It has to be, it can't be near water. It can't be during inclement weather. It can't be this. He has all of these like requirements that if any of these are checked, then there's no way this falls into our category of what we consider the missing 411 cases. And there's all kinds of insane cases, like a 4-year-old that disappears and shows up like 20 miles away up a tree with no wounds. And my rational mind is
immediately people being like lost like at the bottom of canyons and found above canyons where they would have to like
just insane stuff,
travel insane distances,
no logical sense as to how they could have gotten there, or travel distances and have no marks on them, or their feet are like not dirty or anything like that, and they've been barefoot the whole time. All they'll find is people's clothes that are like, so it's this whole subset. And he never says Bigfoot because he's trying to keep it credible. He's trying to keep his research credible. But if you dig and you're asking the questions and you're following the leads, you're like, so you think this is Bigfoot? You think this is, and that, I think that's kind of like something that sort of set me off down the whole Bigfoot rabbit hole. But taking it further, it's also like some kind of conspiracy, because it's also at this point would be known by the government that this is happening, and then there's speculation, and this isn't by the guy that does missing 411, but in this subset there's like the speculation that it's linked with UFOs and stuff like that too, and also interdimensional traveling. And then this links in with stuff like oh no, what is that area? Skinwalker Ranch. Have you ever heard of Skinwalker Ranch?
I've heard of it. I don't know the details.
Again, there's a really interesting documentary. I think this was either on Netflix or Amazon, but it was a group of people that went out to study it, and there are measurable, insane radioactive, like, or, you know, they use the radioactive things, and there's measurable, like, whoa, you got to be careful. It's like X-ray, whatever the X-ray is put off. You got to be careful not to spend too much time here. You're going to get like radiology, whatever that kind of thing is. So there's radiation poisoning. Yeah. So there's definitely something measurable happening there, whether it's a cryptid or a creature or an alien or whatever remains to be seen. But there's absolutely like something scientifically measurable.
Things in the desert out there freak me out too, because like I also I feel like our government tested some crazy ass shit.
That's what I'm thinking too. Is it's just,
and when you say things like measurable radiation.
Well, and all of
my boyfriend works in nuclear. For those of you who don't know, so anytime it's like radiation, like that I kind of know about. Like we have one of the measured
cryptids and stuff. Is it's there's one layer of it that's like very surface level of like, you know, I saw a weird shadow in the dark and now I think it was Mothman. Like, you know, these like I saw something weird and I can't explain it, so it's a cryptid kind of thing. And then it starts to get into the like when you really start to hunt and dig into them, what is. And it takes you down a whole conspiracy theory guy from that TV show with the board behind him, conspiracy Charlie, whatever, you know, that whole like connecting all the dots and you're like, I swear. And it's not so much that I believe in Bigfoot so much as it is that I enjoy the search and I enjoy the mystery and the intrigue. And coming down
I love a good puzzle.
Yes.
Like I do.
And coming down to that word mystery, when we were talking about this episode last week and how we kind of, or a couple of days ago, whenever it was, and how we kind of wanted to do this, we were talking about kind of approaching this or discussing to how you would work with these cryptids in magic. Like,
yeah. So when I first thought of this episode, I thought it would be, and maybe, I mean, we've already gotten pretty far now, so we'll see how far we can keep going. But, I was thinking about it and like, you know, me and Dukes like just talked about our Fae episode and, you know, well, I'm just going to use the same like terminology that I used then. Let's just assume that like everything is possible. Everything is real, theoretically speaking. How many of these sightings might be Fae that are just, you know, being interpreted in a different way? Like, and, you know, we're very familiar with like how the stories of the Fae in the kind of like Gaelic Celtic countries, right? Scotland, Ireland.
Yeah.
Well, who's to say that just Native or North American Fae don't look different, feel different, seem different? Like, you know, I'm just going to use leprechauns as the example because that one I feel like most people know are over there, and over here we have Bigfoots, we have Mothman, we have chupacabras, you know? It's just very different. And I don't know, I'd love to have like some Indigenous American practitioners on here to talk about like legends and myths and things like that. Would be really cool. For the Americas. I think that would be so fascinating. But I think that I don't know, I think there's definitely like a possibilities that some of these things we don't understand what they are or don't have the technology to necessarily like fully determine if it's real or not
at a
quite
certain
yet.
Point,
so
in this technological state that we live in, at a certain point, if there is not proof of it, it's not real. Do you know what I mean? Where are the pictures of Bigfoot? And this is the thing, is that we had so much evidence coming forward back in the 60s, the 50s, the 70s. And then once technology started advancing, sightings drop off. There's no video evidence. There's no photographic evidence. Like all of this kind of, and the same thing. Well, no, UFOs are going in the opposite direction.
I was going to say, actually, so that was actually going to be part of like where I was going to go. But like, didn't we get like, leaked or like released documents basically saying that the Pentagon does believe that there are UFOs, and like nobody like really talked about it?
Yeah, because what are we
They're
supposed to
unidentified objects.
What are we supposed to do about it, Panthera? What are we supposed to say?
I don't know. I just expected like a million documentaries to like pop up and be like, we were right or something. I don't know.
UFOs and cryptids are not the same thing. They're in completely different categories.
But they're very similar in terms of like the culture around it, the disbelief, the frowned upon by the scientific community.
Anymore. Now you're frowned upon if you don't believe in aliens, kind of thing. But then we're gonna get into Project Bluebeam and like fake alien invasions,
well,
and don't
you and Dukesley want to do an alien episode. I'm not the alien person. Aliens freak me out.
I'm into all of this shit.
So.
Look, X-Files is my jam, and this is the thing: is you're talking about how you got into cryptids and stuff. Mulder.
Oh
Fox
yeah, we never talked about yours.
He turned me on to so many things, including never mind. Yeah. So not thinking about Fox Mulder in a Speedo right now. He made the I want to believe poster famous, right? With the UFO on it. But he also had like a lot of Bigfoot associations, and he was hunting vampires. The first like 2 or 3 seasons of X-Files were very focused on cryptids, and the later episodes became all about aliens and government conspiracies and all of this. So, but it was like sewer monsters, swamp monsters, a Bigfoot, whatever, and all of that kind of stuff. So I definitely think that was a part of my cryptid awakening was X-Files, but also just mystery. I love horror. I love weird, creepy bumps in the night.
I love the paranormal
unexplained things. Beyond belief.
Celestial Café plays Phasmophobia when.
Let's do it. There's a show called Beyond Belief Fact or Fiction that I used to really like when I was a kid.
I remember that. Yeah.
Those types of things have always attracted and interested me. So and of course, like the older I get, the more there's been spare time to fill throughout these 30 plus years of life I've lived. So I've gone down many a rabbit hole just out of my little silly curiosity. But yeah, I do believe that aliens and cryptids are in a different category. I would completely put them in separate spaces. Although these like sightings and trying to prove that aliens are real, it aligns. This is why I say they're cousins, but I feel like they fall in different categories because they're going to take us in very different directions. Maybe, unless you believe that Bigfoot is an alien, which some people do. So, or like you're saying, like Fae, like, but then we're going to get into semantics here where I think words are used by different people, but they're describing the same thing. Like some people might say angels and other people might say aliens. And I believe that that's the same thing, that they're using a different word to describe. So the same thing could be happening with Fae and cryptids for sure. But I do think that Fae archetypically behave differently than some of these. And then folklore.
Well, it depends, right? You've got some more animalistic type Fae, like the Kelpie or something like that, where it's the horse that lures you away. So I think it kind of depends.
That's the thing, is some of the cryptids don't have this like story to go with them beyond it's just
like Lochness Monster, right?
Is
just a
creature in the lake. But then there's other ones that have this very folklore, like I want to say like the Bakaneko, the Japanese one, like they there's all kinds of like Japanese,
or even Mothman,
like Mothman has a folklore legend around. There's a legend around the Loch Ness Monster, but Mothman is like you see Mothman and something bad is going to happen
specifically, kind of thing.
And Bigfoot doesn't quite have that. But if you think of something like I was talking about earlier with the Black Annis, that's a blue-faced hag or witch that haunts the countryside of this very specific place. And this is there. I think that there's a Japanese, and I don't know if this is an urban legend or but I do believe, I don't know if cryptid would be the word that would be used, but it's a terrifying woman who, if you pass her in the night, this could just be a creepypasta, don't come for me. I can't remember now, but if you pass her and she smiles at you and she's got like a black dahlia kind of like cut up to the ear smile, and you're afraid of her, then she kills you, or something like that. She asks you if you like her smile, you say no, she kills you, you say yes, then she gives you a smile to match hers. So it's a lose-lose situation, right? But I guess one lose is worse than the other. But this is again an example of like a cryptid creature, entity, ghost, paranormal, whatever,
with a story or a myth associated, a legend.
Yeah, and it's, to me, that's a little different than like even something like the Kentucky Goblins, which have you heard of these little three-toed guys in Kentucky? But there's another documentary called Hellier, Hellier, that I found very enjoyable, if not slightly cringy, but it's, it's cool because it's just real people and they're just like little goth cool, like you feel like you could meet them at a coffee shop,
check it out.
And they're just going off and they're investigating the specific cryptid, the Kentucky Goblin. They're using like EMF readers and doing all the stuff you see in ghost hunting, but they're applying it to cryptids, which I found entertaining. So
yeah, when you talk about like a myth or a story associated, the one that always comes to my mind is like the Jersey Devil in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey, where they're supposed to like come down your chimney and like steal babies and eat them. That sounds very Fae-like to me, though.
I know.
Like Fae legends
and that's the thing is, I think that there could be like a section of like these cryptids could be put into different categories where like this cryptid has Fae qualities to it, like the Onna, the Japanese woman with the split mouth, like that sounds like a Fae or an entity of some kind. That there are consequences for interacting with this entity as compared to just is there a consequence to interacting with the Lochness Monster?
Right. Yeah.
Right. Just
essentially an animal.
The thylacine, the chupacabra, right? These don't have consequences or like some kind of like. And so that's, I don't know, we could even probably sit and categorize these and come up with the Celestial Café.
We might have to do that at some time, yeah. I would love to like talk with like an actual folklorist too, maybe. And maybe there is already like a definition as to what designates like a myth versus a legend versus a cryptid or something like that. So I don't know, we'll have to do some extra research and get back on that. Let us know if you guys are interested in a categorizing episode. But so I'm going to bring this back to like our other conversation about like potentially working with cryptids like in witchcraft. And I think that this is very pop culture kind of witchcraft, like in a way where if you guys aren't familiar with pop culture witchcraft, it's usually working with like characters as like archetypes in your practice. So like the hero archetype or like the kind of high priestess archetype. And high priestess archetype might be Galadriel from Lord of the Rings in your mind. Or like the mentor might be Gandalf, Lord of the Rings or something, right? So
or the hermit,
that might just be
Gandalf.
The hermit. Yeah, exactly. So kind of like using characters in pop culture to kind of like fill that archetype and work with them.
Into pop culture. It sounds like my type of shit. You know what I mean?
You need to research it. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons. So I was like, so theoretically speaking, if you wanted to work with cryptids like you would work with the Fae or like an archetype in kind of pop culture witchcraft, what are cryptids if not like modern day myths and legends kind of, right? That are being, especially if you're in an area, like we have the Lake Erie monster near me, which is a creature that it's supposed to be kind of like a giant sea serpent, I believe, that like lives in Lake Erie, which does get like extremely deep. But we also have sturgeon right in the lake, which are giant fish. And I know sturgeon are one of the possibilities for the Lochness Monster too, that they've talked about. But theoretically, that's a very like local legend for my area, right? If I wanted to work more closely with my land and the stories of my land, that might be a good possibility for me. So I thought we could maybe talk about like potential cryptids and like, I don't know, if you were going to work with like Bigfoot, what would that look like? Or theoretically speaking, if you wanted to protect against things in your area and you maybe live near the Pine Barrens of New Jersey, how would you keep away a creature of the night like the Jersey Devil, and how might you apply that to your protective practices in your witchcraft?
I was going to say, I feel like you could be like harnessing the power or the archetype of the creature in your magic practice. In that case, like, I feel like if I were going to be channeling or using Bigfoot's energy in anything, then it would be in a way to be unseen by someone who was looking for me, right? Like, someone is
like
really
shielding.
like, so I've got a stalker or something like that, or I'm trying to get through.
Or you just don't want to be bothered on your way into work,
literally,
right?
that,
and you take public transportation and you just don't want people looking at you. I know a lot of people utilize like shielding in this way, right? They just want to be unseen. So kind of like channeling the Bigfoot energy is very different than like invisibility energy, if that makes sense. If you're channeling like a spell or something, or the visualization of it.
Also, like archetypically big and strong, solitary, and very protective of itself, hard to find, hard to see. So I feel like these qualities, if you were kind of channeling Bigfoot in your work, are what you would kind of be harnessing with working with Bigfoot energy, which I think is pretty cool sounding, and it could be really useful in very specific situations, or not even specific, but literally, like, I just don't want to be bothered. Like, I don't want people to see me. I want to slip through. I want to slip through areas unnoticed, and I want to feel protected, and I want to feel like if someone comes to mess with me, then there's no issues because I'm big and strong and tough, and and on all of this stuff. So It's another one, like Mothman, I feel like would be similar in some ways, but
intuitive is what I like associate now
psychic,
with like
sure.
remembering like the omens and things like that. So it might be something to kind of tap into when you're doing divination works and things like that, like looking ahead, like what do I need to look out for here in the future when you're asking questions like that.
Kind of the opposite of Bigfoot, in that Mothman was seen by dozens of people in that area. Mothman was very seen, and wasn't trying to hide itself and so like I think also probably like there was a bit of like the Watcher feel to Mothman, like a lot of people
observant,
were like I'm
perceptive.
What was it they him it there for? They were there to observe ? They were there to witness. They were there to prevent. They were like, and then this is the thing is like any of these cryptids, when you're working with them, you're going to be channeling mystery, whether you want to or not, because that's what they're associated with.
That's kind of almost everything in the occult though, too, right? Yeah. Let's say you're starting to dabble into deity work or working with the fae or angels or whatever you're interested in. When you're taking those first steps, there's a lot of skepticism. There's a lot of unknown, right? And I think it's healthy to have that. And I think that it's I don't know. I'm definitely a skeptic as fuck, and that's never gonna go away. No matter how many different like experiences that I might have, the next thing I'm still going to be just a skeptic with, I feel like. And I think that's good because that's what kind of like keeps us in check, and it keeps us focused on, okay, what am I experiencing, and can I look at this from a I always look at things from like a scientific lens, and I think I've talked to you about this too, like even when seeing like patterns and numbers or animals and things like that, I always like to see if I get the same sign at least 3 times, and then I start really paying attention. It's like, okay, now this is odd. It's happened 3 times now. Okay, I'm really paying attention now. And I would still apply that in all of these endeavors.
Yeah, I'm definitely probably come across very skeptical. But I think that I like to start from that spot until I'm convinced. And I think that's kind of my stance, generally speaking, depending. There's probably some stuff where, but I don't know. I was definitely convinced by LSD. There's a lot of stuff that I was skeptical about where it's like, no, hold on a second. But, and now there's certain things where I'm just like way on the other side, and I'm like, now I'm fully convinced, and you got to convince me to be unconvinced. Like, good luck. But yeah, I don't know. I think that at the end of the day, like I find that our collective belief in cryptids, I think like a mark of human nature to be curious and to be explorative and inquisitive and looking for answers and looking for I think that it's just our search for mystery and our search to uncover the unknown. I think that that's a big marker of what it is.
I think humans are just like innately curious beings, and we're always going to be trying to like seek out and explore the unknown. And I mean, that is science too, right? Science is the whole goal of science is to explore the unknown and to identify it and categorize it and understand it. So I don't know. I am definitely very skeptical. I would say that generally speaking, I don't believe in something until proven otherwise. But also I feel like lately I've just been like, but what if? Like, and isn't the world just a little bit of a more magical, fun place? Like, thinking that those things are there. And, like, even if it's, like, done in a playful way, I think that having these conversations and stuff like that, when it gets down to it, they're fun. They're enjoyable.
And that's what it always is. I remember being like 10 years old, 13, having my first slumber parties, and the 3 a.m. conversations about, do you believe in Bigfoot? Do you believe in aliens? What's the scariest thing you've ever seen? Tell me your ghost stories. Those were always my favorite memories and my favorite experiences with people. And some of my favorite conversations to have. You will get to know someone so well through a conversation about cryptids and paranormal stuff.
Zodiac sign. Tell me your favorite cryptid and why, and if you believe in them.
Yeah. And then that's the thing is I want to backtrack that I do think that Bigfoot is top on my list of the majorly popularly known cryptids of likely to be real. That's the one that I believe in the most, I think, out of, and not like the thylacine or whatever it was called, thylacine, not like these ones that are extinct animals that we're now on the hunt for any survivors of, or but these ones it's like Mothman, Bigfoot, Jersey Devil, like these are clearly mythical creatures, but I think that Bigfoot makes sense to me. And if I was Bigfoot, my ass would be deep in the caves and I wouldn't be anywhere near humans because we're fucking crazy. And they probably are smart, observing. They're like, they're going to scoop me up and put me in a cage and experiment on me. Nope. I'm going to stay way the hell out here. And so which...
Or who's to say that some of them haven't already been snagged by our obviously super trustworthy government?
Yeah, that's possible. What purpose would it serve to keep something like that secret? That would have to imply that Bigfoot has they're either some kind of threat, or Bigfoot has some kind of like superpower, or like this is the blood that the elite are drinking to stay young or something. It would have to be,
you're getting a little
it would have to be something crazy, because otherwise why would they keep it a secret? So what cryptid is top of your list as most likely, like you most likely to believe in?
Likely, I think for me is the water ones. Like Nessie. Because like, I don't know if Nessie necessarily, but I think of like the Kraken, which is essentially like the giant squid, right? Or like the ocean is just so vast.
The Kraken's not just a giant squid. The Kraken's like the size of a United States state. These things are massive. Krakens are like galactic.
Okay, but so perspective is also like very easily thrown. If you see a giant fucking tentacle, you're probably not standing there and looking at it if you were fucking on a ship in 1700s, right? Like
the average Kraken was... How big is a real Kraken? These are saying 100 feet, 30 meters in length, weigh 400 pounds.
Like, how big is a real Kraken? 400 pounds is not that much.
4,000 pounds, 2 tons, 2 cars. According to Scandinavian mythology, the Kraken is a horrifying giant sea creature said to be 1 mile long. Do you understand that? 1 mile long.
No, that's pretty long. So, okay, but like an elephant weighs 2 tons. So it's like the size of an elephant weight-wise.
Okay, but not this
but
other
it's in the
one.
Water.
This Scandinavian Kraken is not an elephant. Elephants are not 1 mile long.
No, not a mile long. I was just saying they weigh 2 to 7 tons.
So along this line of thought, is Godzilla a cryptid?
It's made up by humans, right?
So, but okay, so, you got me flustered. Aren't these all technically made up by humans?
Okay, that's like saying Dracula's a cryptid, right? Like that's like written. Bigfoot isn't like spawned from a book, right?
Is Dracula a cryptid? This is where we are with this episode.
I don't think so. No, for me, movie magic, separate, entirely separate. Those are fictional fantasy worlds.
Let's minus Dracula and let's plus vampire.
Vampire
is a vampire a cryptid?
Like, for me, cryptid is very much like animal. Like, because of cryptozoology. So for me, it has to be an animalistic creature, I think, for me to consider it a cryptid. I would consider a vampire, and like werewolf too, technically, I wouldn't consider a cryptid. I would consider them myths and legends, personally, I think. But that's just my personal, like... So like your Black Agnes or the Japanese with the smile.
Yeah.
Those I technically wouldn't consider those cryptids. I would consider those more like stories, myths, and legends because they're humanoid. Bigfoot is kind of like a weird line because
a legend though. It's the legend of Bigfoot. It's the legend of Nessie.
I'm not saying that I think that cryptids can also be legends, but I don't think that all legends are cryptids. Does that make sense? All cryptids are legends, not all legends are cryptids.
Oh, the semantics going in here. Yeah, I'm not sure. Because the thing is when you think about cryptids and stuff, my mind went to Bigfoot. I mean, not Bigfoot. Well, yes, but Godzilla. My mind went to vampires. My mind went to mermaids. My mind went to these creatures that are categorizable. They're not in our normal categories and we don't know how to deal with them. We don't know what they are. We don't know where to find them. We don't know if they're real. And that's to me, that's what I feel like defines a cryptid. And I guess like a cryptid does seem like it would be a less than human creature. But man, then we're going to get into a discussion of like humans being the highest on the pyramid, and why are we so much better than anything else? And we don't know because we've never met a Bigfoot. They could be maybe there's like an underground shit going on. Maybe the earth is hollow and Bigfoot's living inside the hollow earth, and there's a paradise universe happening inside the hollow earth of the Bigfoot are living in harmony, and their third eyes are open, their chakras are all activated and aligned, their almonds are fucking activated.
Maybe are activated.
Maybe this is going on inside and we don't know because we're too dumb and we think we're smart.
We're stuck on the 3D.
Yeah, we're still in the 3D realm. We have not even we have not ascended at all, and Bigfoot is like enlightened, right? We don't know because we've never met them. So how can we say that we're smarter than we know a chupacabra. How can we say we're smarter than a Nessie, or we're smarter than a vampire or whatever? Because they're we don't know that they're real. We've never talked to them. We never met them. We don't know, right? This is just the ego of man coming in here.
You took this a whole different route than I was mentally prepared for.
I'm sorry.
Well, it's like I get in this argument with my friends all the time where it's it drives me crazy when people say that humans aren't animals, but humans literally are animals. We're in the animal kingdom.
We are animal kingdom, yeah.
Exactly. But you'd be surprised how many people like argue, and don't at me if you agree. But like biologically speaking, humans are an animal. We have a genus, a species name, right? We're Homo sapiens sapiens. We are classified as animals of the things that exist here on the earth. And so I guess like it would be, for when I say whether they're determined as like human or not, my brain isn't necessarily like intelligence level necessarily, but are they more closely associated with apes? Or are they more closely associated with us, like in terms of a Bigfoot? Like, does their branch off of the gorillas tree, or does it like the big apes, or does it branch off of ancient and that's human ancestors, like Neanderthals, or to
analyze its DNA and its bones and all of this kind of stuff? We won't know. Yeah, so it could be either.
Because, like, I don't know, like mermaids too. Like we talked about briefly about mermaids. Like, who knows? Like, even if they did branch off of the human evolutionary tree, how animalistic they might be or have become if they theoretically do exist. And mermaids, to me, is actually one that I find more likely because, like, our whales are descendant from wolves. Like that was like an evolutionary discovery that was fairly recent, but like. Whales were wolves that went into the water and became water animals, which is pretty kind of insane. So we can definitely evolve back into water. That is proven. That is science. So that's why I find water things like way more likely than the other. And also because the ocean is very underexplored and horrifying.
You're making my brain like fire off synapses and connect little parts that I wasn't ready to think about yet.
Maybe we need to do a whole mermaid episode.
Our almonds are being activated right now.
We went a little crazy this episode, but this was fun. I was not prepared for the fucking
hollow earth,
awakened Bigfoot's living in the hollow earth.
My enlightened Bigfoot in the hollow earth theory.
I will say, isn't there like? Because
I keep that in my back pocket for parties. It's a crowd pleaser.
That and the tarot cards make the shit memorable. But it did remind me of like, you talked about the people missing from the national parks. And I know one of the theories is that isn't there like a giant cave system beneath the United States that is mostly unexplored?
I'll believe you.
Like there's an incredible amount of caves.
You're saying that very confidently.
Maybe we'll dive into this after the episode. But I fact-checked this, I guess. So I need to do that. But I have heard, I guess. I don't know how reliable the sources that I heard from was. But I don't know. When you said that, I was kind of like, well, isn't there a giant cave system like beneath all the natural parks? I don't know, but we'll see. Let us know what you guys thought about this episode. If you had fun, I definitely had fun. I had a blast, and I just love talking about mysteries and things that we don't fully understand yet as humans. So yeah, let us know what you think, and what cryptids are local near you. Get to know them.
Yeah, I would love to talk about the local cryptids near me because I live in the Appalachian Mountains of North Carolina, and the shit gets kind of crazy up here.
Yeah, maybe that'll be our next one, is talking about our local cryptids so we can go more in depth and do some research on them and stuff like that.
So let us know if you like this episode.
You
know, we'd love to hear from you in the Discord or comment in the YouTube video. You definitely reach out to us on Patreon too if you're over in the Patreon. And you can find all of our links at celestialcafe.org. We would love to chat with you and hear from you. We've got a video podcast going up on YouTube. Spotify now has video included, and we have audio podcasts available on all the podcasting platforms. And I guess that's going to be it. Do we know what our next episode is? I don't think we've got
Next one is Glamour Magic. It's our 4-person episode all about glamour magic, which I'm so excited for.
We have been talking about doing this episode for like literally a year.
Yes.
So this is a much anticipated episode for us, the hosts.
Yes.
So yeah, glamour magic. That'll be fun. All right. Well, I guess we will see y'all in the next episode of Celestial Cafe, and I hope y'all have a great start to May, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.